So recently, there's been a lot of speculation and discussion about how maybe Metroid Dread might have retconned or removed Other M from the continuity, or at the very least Nintendo secretly ignoring Other M and making it non-canon, due to them not acknowledging Other M in any of its promotions for Metroid Dread. And for the most part, I feel like people are looking way too much into this thing. Now, it's no secret that Metroid Dread is being advertised as the epic conclusion to this amazing story arc that we've seen Samus go through with all the main games. Since this is Metroid 5, it makes sense for them to acknowledge and show off games like Metroid 1, Metroid 2, Metroid 3, and Metroid 4 to build up hype for Metroid 5. Other M isn't a mainline Metroid game. It's still canon, but it's a side game, a side story. It doesn't really add anything to the main story that's been happening. Other M is basically an optional game you can play if you want more context for Fusion, exploring a little bit more of Samus's past with Adam, giving us information of how Ridley got onto the BSL, explaining how the Galactic Federation got Metroid DNA, but all that information is kind of unneeded to understand the main story arc. The main story arc revolves around Metroid 1, Metroid 2, Metroid 3, Metroid 4, and Metroid 5. Other M just doesn't matter that much, and thus is unnecessary to really bring up. It's the same reason why Metroid Prime isn't acknowledged at the moment, because it's not necessary for the main story arc. If they're trying to advertise Metroid 5 as the conclusion of this story, why would they bring up a side game that ultimately added nothing to the main story other than just some expositional points for one of the games, Fusion? For a quick marketing and advertisement standpoint, it just makes sense to focus on the core main Metroid games. Bringing in the side games just makes things more complicated. Imagine Nintendo trying to advertise Metroid 5 as the ultimate conclusion, and you have tweets I hear talking about Metroid 1, Prime 1, Hunters, Prime 2, Prime 3, Prime Federation Force, Prime 4, Metroid 2, Metroid 3, Metroid Other M, Metroid 4. It would be so confusing and unnecessary. Why is there 2 1s? Why are there 2 2s? Why is 1 and 2 split up? Why is 3 and 4 split up? Why do some of these not even have numbers? It's unnecessary. And at the end of the day, I really don't think we should be using a social media page to kind of dictate what should or shouldn't be considered canon. Because it's just a social media page. You don't really have the authority to really say something is canon or not. Just because a social media page doesn't acknowledge a specific game doesn't mean that game is not canon. It just means they're not focused on that game because it's not related or connected to what they're trying to show off. If Sakamoto, basically the main person in charge of the Metroid game, says it's not canon and removes it, that's fine because he has the authority. If Nintendo themselves say they're not acknowledging Other M and removing it from the continuity, I'll accept that too because they have the authority. But if a social media page just uses a pretty simple graphic to explain the order of the main games and doesn't so happen to have Other M, I don't think that should be proof that Other M is now stricken from the continuity. It's just that Other M's not really that important for Dread. It never was important. It was just a side game, just to give more context for Fusion. And if you're still on the fence about this and still think this warrants Other M being non-canon, keep in mind by that same logic, Zero Mission and Samus Returns would also be considered non-canon because they haven't been brought up either when it comes to the marketing of Dread. Only NES Metroid and Game Boy The Return of Samus. And we know for a fact those 2 games are considered canon. It's just the marketing. Make things simple. Why bring in the remakes? You make things a little bit more complicated when you have a simple story of Metroid 1, Metroid 2, Metroid 3, Metroid 4, Metroid 5. God, how many times have I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this recording? So many times. But of course though, I do want to know what you guys think about the situation. If you guys saw these tweets and the trend of Other M not being mentioned, did you guys assume this was confirmation that it's no longer canon? Did you not really think too much about it? Do you hope this isn't the case? I don't know. We have a lot of different opinions and stuff like that. I know a lot of people don't like Other M and would rather it not exist, but I feel like people kind of latching onto the idea that the social media pages aren't acknowledging Other M as proof or evidence to support the fact that it's not canon is just irresponsible in a weird way. Also, as a little side note, this is actually kind of funny because remember during Samus Returns when they showed like that simple timeline of like Metroid 1, 2, 3, and 4 and how it didn't acknowledge the Prime games and people thought this was confirmation that the Prime games aren't canon, despite just like this time, last time it's because the Prime games again are not necessary for the 2D remake. I don't know why people think that Nintendo needs to acknowledge literally everything and anything about an IP to confirm if it's canon or not. It just seems unneeded and a little bit too blindsided, to be honest. But that's the internet for you. Of course, if you like Metroid content, please feel free to click on the video above. A video where I theorize about how maybe the ME units might be connected with the Metroids in a pretty cool way. And if not that, maybe a video of me discussing my opinions about Metroid Dread as a whole. And with that being said, I'm the Metroid Trainer. I hope you like, favorite, subscribe, and stick around for next time, because I'll be seeing you later.